Hey there, I'm Sarah Johnson, 28 years old, and trying to make a name for myself as a novelist here in Chicago. Before we dive into my story, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this. So there I was living in a cramped little apartment downtown, juggling my writing career with a part-time barista gig. Glamorous? Not even close. But I was managing. My family has always been a huge part of my life, especially my Aunt Linda and her son, Matt. They're practically my second home. Every weekend, I'd stop by their place. Aunt Linda's been raising Matt on her own for years, and it hasn't been easy. I'd help out where I could, doing chores, keeping Matt company. He's a tough case. At 25, Matt was still bouncing from one job to the next, hanging out with the wrong crowd. I kept nudging him to consider community college, hoping it would give him some direction. "You're smart, Matt. Why not give college a shot?" I'd tell him. He'd just shrug and mutter, "What's the point? It's not going to change anything." Aunt Linda, bless her heart, would always defend him. "Matt's just figuring things out, Sarah. He'll come around." I'd hold back from saying what I really thought, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Even my boyfriend, Jake, a paramedic, noticed. We were having dinner one night when he said, "Sarah, I've got to be honest, something's off with Matt. The way he looks at you sometimes. It's not right." I brushed him off. "He's family, Jake. We stick together, no matter what." Jake just shook his head. "Sometimes it's the family you need to watch out for the most." I didn't want to hear it. Matt was my cousin, end of discussion. Sure, he had issues, but who didn't? Little did I know, Jake's words would come back to haunt me. It was a regular Tuesday night. I was curled up on my couch, working on a chapter when my phone rang. It was Matt, and he sounded panicked. "Sarah, I need you now. It's an emergency." My heart raced. "Matt, what's wrong? Are you okay? Just come over. Please, I can't explain over the phone." Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys. Family first, right? I had no idea that I was driving straight into a nightmare. The drive to Aunt Linda's felt like it took forever. My mind raced with 100 different worst-case scenarios. What kind of trouble had Matt gotten into this time? When I finally pulled up, the house was dark except for a faint light coming from the kitchen. Something felt off, but I shoved the feeling aside. Family needed me. Stepping through that door would turn out to be the worst mistake of my life. I found Matt pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. His eyes were wild, frantic. "Matt, what's going on?" I asked, my voice shaking. He grabbed my shoulders, his grip tight and desperate. "Sarah, thank God. I messed up, big time." "What happened?" I asked, my stomach sinking. There was this convenience store. It was supposed to be easy money, but the clerk, he tried to play hero. My blood ran cold. "Matt, what did you do?" "I didn't mean to hurt him. It just happened. Now the cops are looking for me." I stumbled back, my mind reeling. "We have to call the police, Matt. You need to turn yourself in." His face darkened. "No, I need you to cover for me. Tell them I was here all night, watching movies with you." I shook my head. "I can't, Matt. That's lying to the police." "Come on, Sarah. We're family, you owe me." "I don't owe you this," I said firmly. "You need help." That's when I saw it, the glint of metal in his hand. A kitchen knife. "Matt, put that down," I said, my voice trembling. His eyes went cold, calculating. "I can't go to jail, Sarah. I won't." In an instant, he lunged at me. I tried to dodge, but I felt a sharp pain in my arm as the knife cut into my skin. Warm blood soaked through my sleeve. "Matt, stop. This isn't you." But the Matt I knew was gone, replaced by someone desperate and dangerous. I bolted, locking myself in the bathroom, my hands shaking as I dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" "It's my cousin. He attacked me. He has a knife. Please hurry." I could barely get the words out, my voice trembling. From the other side of the door, I heard Matt banging, his voice filled with rage, completely unrecognizable. "Sarah, open this door. You can't do this to me." Sirens began to wail in the distance. The banging suddenly stopped. I waited, my heart pounding, before gathering the courage to open the door. By the time I did, Matt was gone. The next few hours were a blur. Jake rushed to meet me, his face a mix of anger and concern. "Sarah, this has to stop. Matt's dangerous." I nodded, wincing as the doctor stitched up the cut on my arm. I know, I just never thought you'd go this far. That's when Aunt Linda stormed into the room, her face streaked with tears. How could you, Sarah? He's your cousin. You should have helped him. Ma'am, a nurse interjected, your son attacked Sarah with a knife. She did the right thing. Aunt Linda's accusations kept coming, filling the room like a heavy fog. And something inside me snapped. Years of making excuses, enabling bad behavior, and always putting family first at my own expense, it all came crashing down. I really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw the toxicity that had been festering for years. Enough, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. It's over. All of it. Later that night, sitting in my apartment, the throb of stitches in my arm was a constant reminder of how my world had just been flipped upside down. Hospital discharge papers lay on the coffee table, a stark reminder of what had happened. I picked up my phone, stared at Matt's contact, and hit block. Then I did the same for Aunt Linda. It was time to cut ties. The next day, I headed to the police station. Detective Rodriguez was waiting for me, his expression grim. Miss Johnson, thanks for coming in. We need to talk about Matt. I nodded, bracing myself. What do you need to know? We believe your cousin might be involved in a series of robberies and assaults. Can you tell us exactly what happened that night? I took a deep breath and spilled everything. The panicked call, Matt's confession about the robbery, his desperate plea for a fake alibi, and then the knife. He just snapped. I've never seen him like that before. It was like he was a stranger. Rodriguez leaned forward, his voice steady. You did the right thing coming forward. We'll make sure you're protected. As I left the station, my phone buzzed. It was Jake. How'd it go? It's done. I told them everything. I'm proud of you, Sarah. Want me to come over? I hesitated. Actually, I think I need some time alone to process. That night, I sat at my laptop, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Words poured out of me, stories of betrayal, family, and the hard choices we sometimes have to make. It was cathartic, turning my pain into something meaningful. A few days later, I found myself in a community center, surrounded by strangers with haunted eyes, a support group for victims of family violence. A woman named Tanya was speaking, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. My brother. I thought he'd always have my back, but when he raised his hand to me, I knew I had to walk away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most freeing. Her words hit home. After the meeting, I approached her. Tanya, I'm Sarah. Your story, it really resonated with me. She smiled warmly. First time here? I nodded, rolling up my sleeve to reveal the bandage. My cousin, he. Tanya gently placed a hand on my shoulder. You're brave for being here. It gets easier, I promise. Weeks passed. I threw myself into my writing and therapy, finding solace in Jake's support. He was always there with a warm hug or a listening ear. I started to feel like I was rebuilding my life, piece by piece. But then one afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Sarah, it's Linda. My blood ran cold. Aunt Linda, I told you not to. Please just listen. Matt's in trouble. He needs you. We're family, remember? I gripped the phone tighter, my voice steady. Family doesn't try to stab you, Aunt Linda. I'm done. How can you be so selfish after everything we've done for you? I ended the call, my hands shaking. Jake found me an hour later, curled up on the couch. Hey, what happened? I looked up at him, feeling exhausted. I think I need to get a restraining order. Just as I was beginning to regain some control, Detective Rodriguez called. Miss Johnson, we've got him. Matt was arrested in Nevada for another crime. They're bringing him back to Chicago. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. It's over. Not quite, Detective Rodriguez said. We'll need you to testify. Can you do that? I thought about Tanya, the others in that support group, and the story I was writing. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about breaking the cycle, about standing up and saying enough is enough. Yes, I said, my voice stronger than I expected. Yes, I can do that. As I hung up, I realized something. This was the start of something new. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Months flew by like pages in a book. There I was, standing in front of a packed bookstore, my novel cutting ties clutched in my sweaty palms. The publisher's rep gave me a thumbs up from the back of the room. I cleared my throat. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Johnson, and I'm here to read from my debut novel. As I read, I saw heads nodding, tears being wiped away. My story was resonating with people. After the reading, a young woman approached me, her eyes red-rimmed. Your book, it's like you've lived in my shoes. Thank you for writing it. I smiled, a warmth spreading through my chest. You're not alone. That's why I wrote it. Just as I finished signing the last book, my phone buzzed. It was Detective Rodriguez. Miss Johnson, we need you to come down to the station. There's been a development in Matt's case. At the station, Rodriguez dropped a bombshell. We've linked Matt to a cold case, a fatal hit and run from 3 years ago. The victim's family has been waiting for justice. I felt the room spin. Of God, I had no idea. Your testimony is more important than ever now. Are you still willing to take the stand? I nodded, my resolve hardening. Absolutely. As I left the station, my phone rang again. It was Aunt Linda. Sarah, please. I know I've made mistakes, but Matt needs you. He's facing serious time. Just speak to the judge. Tell them he's a good boy who made a mistake. I took a deep breath. Aunt Linda, listen to me. Matt isn't a good boy who made a mistake. He's an adult who's made terrible choices. He attacked me with a knife. He killed someone in a hit and run. I can't lie for him. I won't. But we're family. How can you turn your back on us? Family doesn't mean enabling destructive behavior. I'm done. Please don't contact me again. I hung up, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The day of the trial arrived, and as I took the stand, I saw Matt for the first time since the attack. He looked small, defeated. But when our eyes met, I saw a flash of the anger that had always simmered beneath the surface. Miss Johnson, can you tell the court what happened on the night of April 15th? I took a deep breath and told my story, every detail, every fear, every moment of betrayal. When I finished, the courtroom was silent. The verdict came swiftly, 20 years. Weeks later, I was back at the bookstore for another signing when Jake showed up, looking nervous. He approached me and dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring. Sarah, you're the strongest person I know. Will you marry me? Tears welled up in my eyes. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As we celebrated that night, my phone buzzed with an email. I nearly dropped it when I read the subject line. Hollywood's calling. Babe, they want to turn your book into a movie. You did it, Sarah. You turned all that pain into something beautiful. I looked at Jake, then at the ring on my finger. I thought about the movie deal, the success of my book. And then I thought about Matt, sitting in a prison cell, and Aunt Linda, alone in that big house. No, I said, smiling. We did it. I couldn't have done any of this without you, without the support group, without everyone who believed in me. As we toasted to new beginnings, I realized something. The family you choose, the one you build with love and trust, is the one that truly matters. This intense story of betrayal, family loyalty, and personal growth has come to an end. At what point do you think family loyalty should end? Was Sarah right to testify against Matt, or should she have protected him despite his actions? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what you believed was right? How did you handle it? If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.